series. As I always check in, I sincerely hope you and yours are safe and well at the moment. As I mentioned on Tuesday, I've had the opportunity of catching up with a significant number of our members over the last few weeks, and if I haven't spoken to you, I will be speaking to you over the next couple of days. What's coming across very strongly, and you don't need me to tell you this, is how challenging we are all finding this time. The emotional toll I know that this is taking on you as business leaders, with frustrations and unanswered questions at the moment. So one small step that SBN is taking through these weekly insights is to help build an understanding of how COVID-19 and its impact is impacting on other businesses globally, and how it could affect our economy and your business. And we're doing that by hearing from Scots like Fraser, Kyle, Russell, Graham, Russell around the world, because these insights we hope will help you as regards understanding how to manage business, particularly for those who have a global business, who are exporting at the moment and have agents, distributors, connections in a global environment. We hope that these insights as to what is happening now out of the window from our global diaspora will help you in your planning and your thoughts around what next, what can I do now to help my business during a time of seismic shift in global trade. Most importantly, though, is we want to keep our community together during this time, and as well as putting a face to our global diaspora. We talk so much about our global diaspora and our links, and it's just, if there's one nice thing to come out of this time, it's the pleasure of virtually meeting our global ambassadors and making our links to Scots around the world. Graham, I'm going to just come over to you there. Delighted to have you on the call. Great if you could give us an update as to what's taken this boy from Aberdeen around the world and now to New York. Graham, lovely to hear from you.
Thanks, Christine. So I'll give you my 2-minute elevator story if I can. So I was a graduate of University of Aberdeen, grew up and lived there. Left university, became a chartered accountant in Scotland, joined what's now KPMG. Got sent overseas for what was supposed to be a 2-year gig in Jamaica, of all places, and never returned after that. I eventually spent 6 years in Jamaica, moved from KPMG to NCR Corporation, that many will recognize from Scotland. Was there 18 years, traveled around the world, left there to join Orange Business Services, was there for 6 years, moved to AstraZeneca, the pharmaceutical company, and I'm now with WPP, the advertising, media and public relations giant, based here in our New York headquarters.
Thank you, Graham. Pleasure to have you with us. I'm particularly interested in gaining insights for you there. You're operating in a global business. As a global organisation, what has been your business's approach to this, just as an example of how New York and a global business is reacting to this current pandemic?
So I think one of the first things we did, and even ahead of the executive orders that came in New York and what you had in London, our CEO had us all work from home a week ahead of those orders, and we are now at the point where more than, I think it's 95% of our business is working from home. That was the first major shift, and you'd like to say that everybody was prepared for it, but the truth is that nobody expected the disruption that this has caused. If I draw an example from some of the work I do with business process outsourcing, we had business continuity plans in place with our provider, but it never contemplated a world where you couldn't just move to another location. And so for the first time, we had to contemplate putting in place a continuity plan that allowed employees to work from home in India. And that caused us to do legal agreement reviews, security reviews, all before we had the challenge of moving the equipment, all before India was locked down itself. So that's just one example of something that was really challenging for us. But on the broader WPP business, I think we've coped incredibly well. Our clients have worked with us incredibly well. There are things like photo shoots and so on, which obviously cannot go ahead right now, but by and large, things that can be conducted virtually, we're doing virtually and doing seemingly very successfully.
And the feedback you're getting from your customers and from your suppliers, Graham, where do you get a sense that these customers and suppliers are, and does it change depending on their physical location at the moment? Because I'm picturing this as a wave going across the world. Tragically, United States is right in the middle of this. You're getting this from both sides, but how are your customers and suppliers responding globally?
Yeah, so I think there's no one answer that will cover all of that, Christine. As Fraser rightly says, if you're in particularly the retail business, the sort of restaurants, hotels, food, travel, all of those things, those businesses have been severely impacted, and nobody knows when this will come back, when it will change, and what the longer term impacts may be to business. So I think that's one sector. You've got other sectors like banking and insurance, for example, where they've continued operating, but in a way that they would never expect it to continue operating, perhaps. And then you got other businesses for whom this has not had a huge impact yet. They can still carry on conducting their business somewhat virtually, but nobody really has a view of where this is going and how long we'll all be out, and therefore what it'll take to restore business and what normalcy will look like once it's restored.
From the point of view of where the world is going with this, God willing, we will all come out of this, and there will be a business will still have to manage post this, and we sincerely hope as many businesses as can come out of this, but in a different shape and form. What question I asked Fraser around, what should Scottish companies be thinking about at the moment? We often talk about global mindset, Graham. From a Scot who has that global mindset operating around the world, what would your advice be to fellow Scottish business leaders?
So I would say, what you're experiencing in Scotland, in the UK generally, is not unlike what's happening here. So you can probably, with a good amount of imagination, figure out how disrupted things have become here. If you're in a situation where you're looking to start a business here or export from your business to here and so on, I would tell you it would probably take a while. Certainly a good few weeks, maybe months. I've heard some say maybe 18 months before we have a sense of, again, normalcy restored here. And so it's not something that's likely to come back, a week from now, 2 weeks from now. So you may have to be a little patient on initiatives you had, again, either to set up business here or even just to export here. And you would need to continually look closely at maybe relationships you've already established with other businesses to make sure they're in the same position. Sadly, a lot of businesses may disappear here given the circumstances. Businesses that survive will survive in a different way. We're seeing lots of situations where companies are laying off employees. We have furloughing of employees here, but it's not quite the same as it is in the UK. And so some employees may never return to work. There have been discussions about 20% unemployment in the country. Yeah. So it's going to be different. So I wouldn't take anything for granted going forward. Not because we did it 2 months ago can we say we'll be doing it the same way 2 months from now.
would you suggest, though, from your experience and having empathy with that business community, to continue discussions, even if it's just a checking in? Hello, how are you? How are things going? Is there bandwidth within business relationships for that at the moment, Graham?
I would say absolutely. I mean, every business wants to continue its relationships. Every business wants to be engaged with its clients, its partners, its suppliers, and so on. So by all means, keep those relationships up. Um, I guess all I was trying to say was that don't be surprised if the nature of some of those relationships and the very businesses themselves haven't changed since you started those relationships.
Thank you, Graham. Before I move on to Kyle, is there anything else you want to say to the businesses that are listening in today? Well, we're also videoing this, or recording it rather, to put out a wider network. Anything that you would say from both your ICAS and your SSON experience that would be relevant to our companies to think about at this time, Graham?
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, I think a lot of us have been surprised how easily and remarkably well we've managed to move to working from home, or remote working more generally. And I think that's definitely something you'll see more of in the future. That has implications, ramifications on the world of travel. In my case, I commute twice a day into New York. You know, do I have to do that again in the future? Worldwide travel, will that ever be the same again? Will the leisure industry ever be the same again? So I think that a lot of things have definitely changed. We were just discussing another call yesterday, the impact of commercial real estate worldwide now. If people discover they can work from home, will real estate ever be as valuable as it was before? So definitely a lot of changes, definitely a lot of revisions to those norms. But yeah, we'll all get through this. Hang in there, all of us, I would say. We'll come out the other side hopefully stronger.
Thank you, Graham. I'm just going to bring in a question from one of our members, Eddie McGeechy. Eddie's asking, and I'm just going to add a wee bit on to this. I think this is what you're also asking, Eddie, around as a marketing company. So when you have clients, and I take it this is from Eddie's point of view, when you have clients, how do you engage with them at the moment without looking needy and insensitive? And I'm sort of just going to expand that a wee bit. Without looking needy, there's still bills to be paid. Money still needs to circulate in any economy. And how do you develop that relationship? I'm not saying that was Eddie's specific question around bills to be paid, but how do you engage while being empathetic, but recognising that we still have a commercial businesses to run here?
Yeah, and I'm going to twist that a little bit and just say that
Please.
It's not so much being needy and insensitive, it's the fact that we're providing a service to those very clients. And our clients, for example, at WPP, number some of the largest companies in the world. Companies like Ford, P&G, Unilever, to name but a few. And as you can imagine, at this time, all of those companies themselves have needs on how they reposition their businesses. What do they do? Perhaps in a downturn. And I think just business across business generally, leaders of a different business that are engaging with each other to help each other through what is basically uncharted waters. So I think there's these relationships have been formed over many years. They're strong relationships, they're business partnerships, and there's engagement there to help both parties come through them.
Okay, so I think as well it's about changing the language there, is what you're also saying, Graham. It's not about being needy, it's about recognizing a commercial environment there.
Exactly.
So Eddie, I hope that answered your question, and sorry that Graham and I maybe slightly twisted your question there. Graham, final words or insight from yourself you'd like to share?
I'd just like to wish everyone the best in terms of staying safe, being well. We'll get through this, and I think we've demonstrated that even in all this disruption, goodness can come out of it, and we'll all be stronger.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure even to see your muted icons on the screen here. Thank you for your positive feedback for one and all that's coming through. Please keep safe. Please keep well. Please keep washing your hands, and keep an eye on the SBN website, where we are promoting each and every one of our businesses and the support that you're offering to our community. A joy to be with you all this afternoon, and thank you particularly to Fraser, to Graham and to Kyle. And stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.